Episode 73 of the Scott Gibson Show. I am Scott Gibson. Who else would I fucking be at this point? Swearing straight off the bat. Interestingly, recorded another podcast earlier on today. What a day! What a fucking day it's been, man. In that podcast, the one I recorded this morning, my co-colleague, my co-host, the wonderful DJ McLAUGHLIN, the visionary, philanthropist, man of the people, voice of the great unwashed, concerned about swearing, and I have to say, it's made me think. Looking back on some episodes, maybe there is a bit too much sweary. Maybe there's too much swearing. I have always had an issue. I think very uncomfortable today in the chair. Can I just say, possibly. We're going to be needing a new chair. I really want a new desk. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want, but a standing desk, I feel like that's the future of podcasting. Broadcasting to the nation. I feel a wee standing desk, get the circulation going. Maybe that will increase the anger and the rants by 5 or 6%. Who knows? But yes, swearing. Sometimes when I listen back to some podcast episodes, sometimes the language, I think, good God, Gibbo, there's absolutely no need for that volume of swearing. But then sometimes I don't even realise I'm swearing, it just rolls off the tongue. It's part of the vernacular, being from the West Coast, or being Scottish indeed. It's just the way we speak, man. We mean no offence. And I think that I don't trust people who don't swear. Now that's a bold statement, allow me to back that up. I think that if you are offended by language in that sense, where we've all met people and they go, oh, that's too much swearing and that, they need for all that swearing. Fuck off. It's just, I think swear words are powerful. I think it can get, cut right to the point. I've had it on 2 occasions, one for a competition, which would you say I deliberately threw? Probably yes is the right way to do it. We were taken into a room for this big speech for one of the head judges who hated me, disliked me, and then, like everything else in my life, once they get to know me, then they love me, and that's exactly what it ended up being. We're still friends to this day. But I often take the piss out of her because for the first year that we knew each other, she disliked me. And she disliked me because I swore on stage. And that was it. How fucking petty and pathetic is that? Anyway, we got this big speech about don't talk to the judges. The judges are not here. They're here to be part of it. They're not here to judge you. So don't interact directly with the judges. I can't, and this was the exact words, and I'll never ever forget it. I can't tell you not to swear, but my advice would be this. If you can do a set without swearing, please do it. None of us are here to be sworn at, and the chances of you building a career or moving further in this industry are very slim if all you do is rely on bad language. And I thought, what the fuck is this? First of all, I hated competitions. Competitions in the comedy industry are the worst thing that can ever happen to comedy. Well, there's a few other things, but it's up there in the top 5. Competitions, awards, putting people against each other, it's all nonsense and lies and buffoonery, for want of a better word. Anything in an industry that is award driven or recognition driven, other than being directly from your peers, is designed in order to create work or earn money for something else, for an external factor. There should never be awards in art. There should never be structure placed upon people, put against each other. And these comedy competitions do that, and I hated them. I never ever enjoyed them. Possibly some people may say I have a problem with authority. Maybe that is the case. But I went out and I did my normal set, which contained sweary words, and I spoke to the judges, and I was disqualified, and the fucking rest is history. But like I said, that person, once they got to know me, and we hung out and had some conversations about life, I remember saying, I misjudged you. And I went, I actually didn't know she didn't like me. She went, yeah, I didn't really care for you much because you're swearing. And I went, are you serious? She went, yes. And I said, so you judged my complete character on a 5-minute comedy routine that you saw in a basement in Glasgow? She did. And I went, well, speaks volumes about you. Anyway, so, yeah, swearing's great, man. It's great. You know, it's just, it's part of the language, man. Stephen Fry loves it. You know, and who will argue with him? Legend. So I say, if you want to swear, fucking hell, I swear. Maybe we'll start to monitor our language on these podcasts. Maybe. Who knows? I should say, I have restarted Couch to 5k because I am determined, before I die, shuffle off this mortal coil, that I will once again, be fit and healthy. I have flashbacks to when I was a young whippersnapper in my early 20s, and my God, was I a fucking machine. When I look at me now, I'm a machine that's been decommissioned for some time and lying to rot. I'd done it before. I think it's a 9. If you don't know what it is, it's basically Couch to 5k. I'm sure you heard about this. It's an app that you use, right? And apparently it's designed to take you from the couch to running 5k, or the caveat is or for 30 minutes non-stop. That's the caveat. Alright? So through this 9-week program, you go from sitting on your fat arse on a sofa to running 5k non-stop, or for 30 minutes. Whatever is greater, I would imagine. And last time I did it, I think I got to like week 4, and I was feeling good. I was feeling good. I was losing. I was shifting a bit of timber, and I was doing well. It was hard, but I was doing all right. And then lockdown and COVID, moved house, then lockdown and COVID, and that all got flung out the window. So try to get back into it again, and I have to say it is horrendous, man. I have never been one of these people, even when I played rugby for quite some time. I enjoyed training, but I never enjoyed ever working out. I've never enjoyed working out. See these people who almost get hard on for going to the gym. Oh my God, I've got such a pump, man. I've got such a pump on. I'm pure pumped, man. I'm absolutely pumped. Get my pump on. Never. I understand there is a chemical reaction in your body where the endorphins go crazy. Maybe I'm endorphinless. You know? We've seen another Rocky movie. I am endorphin free. I could be in a treadmill, I could be on a bike, lifting weights, doing whatever. I feel awful after it. I have never in the history of my 36-year existence ever done a workout and then after it felt, oh my God, I feel amazing. I felt like I am a bag of shit. I don't get it, man. I would love to be one of these people who just has this vigour for life, you know? They do a wee half-hour run, like, God, just to get that run in first thing in the morning, it just really sets me up for the day. See, if I went for a half-hour run first thing in the morning, I would go back to my bed and I would see you the next day. It's never going to happen. Everyone's different, people. Why can we not accept this? Everyone's different. So we started it again and did the first run today at lunchtime, and of course the first time I decided to go for a run in over a year. I say run, I mean it's a fast jog, or a wobble if you will. It's a wobble. The sun is splitting the fucking trees, pissing with rain yesterday. Weekend was horrible, and today I said to the missus, I'll come with you, because she's been running now for a couple of weeks. I went, I'll come with you and I'll restart Couch to 5k, and the sun is splitting the fucking tree. It's like a tropical day out there. I thought I'd see people having barbecues. So, had the app on. Oddly, I listened to either podcast or TalkSport, right? And I know that's daft to listen to something like TalkSport when you're working out, but I find that if I listen to music, which a lot of people do, I find if I listen to music, my mind just drifts. It drifts away. My mind drifts away. It just goes, and then before I know it, I've lost count, or I'm start running to the side of the treadmill, and then you do that thing where you trap your foot on the mat and the kind of edge bit, and then you fucking smash your face off the console and everybody's embarrassed, you know. So I tend to excuse me, I tend to listen to people talking. It does something to my brain. It focuses my mind on the task at hand. I don't know if it's because I've had years of late night drives back from gigs. God, what's that in my throat? I always had a 4.5 hours was my rule, right? If the gig was less than 4.5 hours away drive from my house, I would drive home. And the reason being, that was my limit that I could drive, was 4.5 hours, because I would do 2, I would have a break, I would do an hour and a half, I would have a break, and then because I knew the service stations that would stop it as well, and then the last hour you just blast it home. And because usually when you're gigging, you're doing clubs, maybe you'll finish with a couple of drinks if you're not driving home, and this was always my logic. So you'd be wide awake, you're fired up, right? Say the gig finishes at back at 10, 11. Have a couple of drinks, or don't have a couple of drinks, you don't always have to drink. You get back to the hotel maybe 12:30, maybe 1 o'clock by the time you leave the club. You maybe get something to eat, you watch a bit of telly, maybe you watch a film because you can't switch off straight away. Sometimes you might even do a podcast, you know, I've done that before with friends. Whatever it is you do, you maybe get to your bed back at 2, 3, you have a long lie in, and then you get up and then you need to come home. So by the time you're getting to your bed, it's back at 2, 3, whereas if you get in the car, once you're done, you're set, you've got the gig energy and you blast home. So 4.5 hours was always my limit, but I always had to listen to people talking. Couldn't be music. If it was music, even if it was something like ultrasonic, crazy boom boom, it would just send me to sleep, or it would distract my mind. Talk radio, talk sport, podcasts, things where people are talking, and that kind of channels me through. So I always listen to something like that when I'm doing a workout, right? And again, it's odd, but today is the start of Cheltenham, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So while I was doing my run around the park, I was listening to Talk Sport, which had the Cheltenham commentary on. So at one point I'm doing my wee run, and on week 1 of Couch to 5k, you run for 60 seconds and then you walk for 90 seconds. Run for 60 seconds, walk for 90 seconds. And the thing is, when you explain that, you think that's a piece of piss, but trust me, see, when you're a fat bastard, man, 60 seconds is a fucking long time. So I'm doing my wee run and I can hear him going, and he's coming over the backside, and here he comes, and he's one leg, and he's got, I felt as if I felt as if I was like some kind of racehorse that was being commentated on coming round the fucking Pilrig Park. But yes, we started it, so we're going to get to the end of the 9 weeks. I've already said today I will never run in a park again. I've done it once. I will never ever do it again. It was absolutely horrendous. My anxiety was through the fucking roof. I felt like everybody was watching me. People were constantly coming past you. Either they were running, or when you're running you're going past people. I was getting anxious about that. Because we've had really bad rain in the last couple of days, the park, or the grass bit, is just a fucking mud bath. Everybody's trying to stick to the path. Nobody will move each other's way. It was horrendous. It was an absolute 25-minute, 30-minute run of anxiety, fucking shin splints. It was hell. So I will never, I'm telling you this right now, I'll never run in a park again. I'll find someone else to run until we can go back in a gym. But I know what I need to do. It's odd when you get to a certain age, especially if you've ever done anything with fitness. Like if you've ever played a sport to a kind of relative high level, you very quickly understand your body, and I know exactly what I need to do. I need to get back on the weights. That's it. That's the only thing that, yes, cardio is good for me and it helps improve my cardiovascular fucking ding. You know, and I want to be able to get fitter, but I know my body, and I know the only thing that's going to help me really shift this next phase of timber is getting back on top of the diet and getting back on the weights. It's the weightlifting seems to be the only thing that has ever worked for me to lose weight, which is odd. I suppose it's just because I got such a big frame. that, you know, maybe that's the only way to change it, but I don't know. But I was having a wee chuckle as I was struggling to breathe going up a tiny incline today round Pilrig Park in Edinburgh, as I was being listening to commentary on the fucking Cheltenham horse race, and I thought, well, it felt like I was being cheered in over the line by the presenters at TalkSport. So there you go. I do think it's mad that Cheltenham is even on. I just saw the days where the Oscars have been nominated. I didn't even fucking realise they were still doing the Oscars. I thought all that shit had just been scrapped. I mean, has there been a single film that's been... Listen, see if you released a film or a documentary or a short doc or an animated bag of shite. If you release something in 2020 and you are not nominated for an Oscar, that must have been the biggest pile of shite that has ever hit the big screen. And let me tell you, there's a hell of a lot of shite out there. I could not name you. I mean, I've looked at the nominees. I couldn't name any of the movies. Couldn't name a single one. Apparently, let's just get the list up here. Apparently Sacha Baron Cohen, if I could say his bloody goddamn name properly, apparently he's been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Supporting Role. Sacha Baron Cohen for The Trial of Chicago 7. Now, I have seen this on Netflix, and I have lost count the amount of times I've scrolled past it. Now I feel as if I need to go and watch it because he's been nominated, so maybe he's good in it. This microphone, I don't know what I have done. I have an itch every now and again to move things, right? Where most of us done it when we were young. It was the only power you had. It was the only thing you were in control of when you were young, was the layout of your bedroom. So I would change my layout. I mean, it was a rectangle, right? And one corner had a fucking boiler in it, so you couldn't get near that corner. Very, very little you could do, but you got creative, right? And you put beds in positions where beds shouldn't be, but you had control over it. And sometimes your mum would cut us down and she'd be like, "I fix it banging." You'd be like, "Move my room a bit." And she'd go, "Oh," and just roll her eyes and go, "Whatever, leave them." And so I have this thing where I seem to have I've moved things around the desk to try and get slightly better positions, because we're restricted in the studio at the moment, where we're broadcasting into a corner. And then I've moved things, and I've just moved them all back. And now that I've moved them back, this microphone has decided that there's no one to play balls anymore. So I think this cable desperately needs replaced. So we need to do that after this podcast. In fact, I'm sure I mentioned this in the last one, that I need to replace this cable. So I'm going to need to make a note. In fact, I'll write a goddamn note down. That's how serious I'm taking this. So, can't believe there's Oscars out. Can't believe there's Oscars out. Can't believe Cheltenham's on. Like I said, I was listening to it on the radio. I just find it very strange that there will be no audience there. I heard today that there are a lot of trainers, or well-known trainers, or famous horses that are not going to be there, because a lot of the stables lose money in Cheltenham, just purely for the costs that are involved in attending. But they do so because it's kind of like, you know, a feather in the cap. It's like a trade show, if you will. You know, you're maybe not considered a real stable unless you attend Cheltenham, a big event in the race calendar. And a lot of them were saying that will just not be attending this year because they will take the hit on the loss financially, solely because they get to hang out with their friends and have a party and go wild for a couple of days. And you know, get their palms read by the Irish gypsies that come over, and they don't have any of that this year. So there are a lot of people who are not in attendance, and they're questioning why it's really going ahead. I was hearing that they've turned part of, I believe, the stable enclosures into like some kind of makeshift accommodation for the staff and the stable hands. It just seems like it's an incredible amount of work for something that probably necessarily doesn't need to happen. Now listen, I have no great feelings for or against horse racing. I am a little bit surprised that it's still even a thing. if I'm honest with you. I imagine horse racing is, none of us will ever be involved in the sport. I mean, you're not going to be a jockey. Nobody's going to turn around at 40 and go, I want to be a jockey. I mean, I know the government hit out with the lines of, you know, we should all be retraining. Am I going to walk out of a job centre? I want to be a jockey. I think I've got the accent. I'd fucking love to be a jockey. How are we going to retrain me? How could you retrain me to be a jockey unless I'm racing on the back of a hippo? Elephant racing in India. Boom, there you go. That's the only fucking thing I could jockey. You'd need to cut me off at the knees. I'd like to retrain as a jockey, please. So I am a little bit amazed that horse racing is still a thing. And I know people will say things like, listen, there's a massive employer of people, you know, it's a huge industry. Is it really? Is it really? Look at the places that have got horse racing, right? The UK, France, a little bit. Not as much as they don't have the pomp and pageantry of the UK. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe because it's all connected to the royals, and it's, you know, it's royal such and such and royal bloody blah and fuckety fuck nugget and do. Maybe that's the appeal. That people go to Cheltenham and they put their fucking the top hat and the tails on and they all stand there with their bottles of Moe as the royals get dragged down with a horse-drawn carriage, and then they let the scum in and they get their tits out, and then they get pumped, and then they rob the bookies. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it unites. Maybe in my own argument, I've done a complete 180 here. Horse racing is the greatest thing to unite this country since World War II. There, I said it. But we should all be involved in horse racing. Bring it. There should be a horse meet every week. Cheltenham every weekend. Fuck knows, man. But will I be gambling? No, I will not. Somebody had asked, actually, if I can find it. I wonder if I can find it here. David Richardson, Cheltenham this week. If you had to name your own racehorse, what would you name it? I think it. Do you know what? I'd call it Donkey. I mean, you either call it something personal to you, right? You know, like you name it after your mother or your gran, or you name it after somebody in the family who lost their life or that, whatever, right? Or you name it something that is either embarrassing or stupid for a commentator to say. Now, you could obviously call it Tits McGee or Spunk Bubble McGuffey, right? But they're not going to read that out. Here comes Spunk Bubble. Maybe they would read that out. But you want to have something that sounds daft that they're going to say. And Donkey would be a good one. Donkey now on the back straight. Donkey come up here 4 lengths to go. And Donkey's over the 4th line. And Donkey says, Donkey takes us by a line. And it's the Donkey's the one. Donkey would be good. Fuck it, Donkey. Fred and Rose West. The Wests. No, I'm not even going to say. I'm going to self-censor. I'm self-censoring. Get back. Call it Donkey. Imagine the cost in having a horse must be extortionate. I imagine that must be a license to print money. A great way to rob the rich would be having a racehorse. You turn up, how's Donkey doing? Oh, gaffer, had to put a new pair of shoes on the cunt, man. Oh, that's $8,000. I wonder if there's like a, you know, like Quick Fit. I had to get a tyre in the car recently, and I thought Minnie was bending me over the car, the price they gave me. And then I phoned Quick Fit, and the guy went, that's actually quite a good price. And I went, in the name of God, what country do we need to invade to get the price of tyres to come down? Can you take your horse around different shops? He's going to need 4 new shoes. Fucking hell. New Sanny Bebops for the horse, man. I imagine there must be. So, huge costs involved. So, I want to have a horse. We found a programme called Below Deck, and it's about yachties, darling. People who work on a chartered yacht, my love, out of the Caribbean, right? And it's one of those programmes that when I first heard about it, I thought it would be awful. And can I say, it is absolutely spectacular. I genuinely love it. I'm hooked. it's got the right mix. It shows you a bit of the luxury life, and there's a few characters that you get to develop over the course of the season, and then the people that come on these boats are just pure white trash. There's no other word for it. They are white trash, absolute scum. Every single person that's ever appeared on this programme who charters this yacht is a classless scumbag, and that is why you should watch it, because it gives you an insight into how these people live. I have never really met full-blood aristocracy. I've never met them, right? I have met a couple of posh cunts in my life. I have met a few people who have come from money, but I've never met real blood, like, you know, fucking, we can trace ourselves back to Alexander the Great, right? My cousin, my mother, the Dougs are father. Those kind of people, right? I've never met them. But there is something about that lifestyle that just comes naturally to them. And when you see people who are not from money but somehow have managed to create wealth for themselves, and then they place themselves in these positions, so they charter a yacht, which I believe is about 140 grand a week, going up to 300 grand a week depending on the boat. Right now, 300 grand a week is a disgusting amount of money to be spending on hiring a boat, right? But hear me out. On one of them, I think you can get 10 people on it, right? Now, if you get 10 of your pals and you charter a yacht at 300 grand, that's 30 grand a skull, right? Now, 30 grand, again, is a disgusting amount of money to be spending on a holiday. But if you've got that, 30 grand's fuck all to you. You may even struggle to get a return first class ticket for 30 grand on a plane, and you're getting a boat. So you're chipping, all your food and drinks all covered, right? So you just abuse the drink, just bevy as much as you can. But watching these people on this boat, they are absolute scumbags. There's people getting steaming, there's people saying very inappropriate things, there's people just turning up and giving it all this bravado. It's quite sad actually to see people living in that way. You know, people who, like I said, are classless. In one of the episodes I remember, because it stands out, I don't know anything about MMA, right, but apparently there's a company called Tap Out, which I think is a clothing line associated with MMA or UFC or something like that. So the guy who created Tap Out rents the boat with a group of his friends, and again, just white trash. Just fucking white trash. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm going, the thing that I find interesting is that people own these boats, right? So they say that the boats cost like $20 million up to $50 million, and people buy them, right, as a business. So I win the lottery. I win 200 million, the Euro Millions, right? And I buy, as a business investment, I am advised to buy a super yacht. So I buy a super yacht for $20 million, and then I send it out on season, and people charter the boat, and they spend upwards of $150,000 to $300,000 for a week on the boat, and then I get money as obviously being the owner and pay people to look after, and it's an investment and it earns money and blah blah blah. If I was told, and I wonder if it's an interesting thing, because I wonder if there's anybody who owns these yachts, like the boat they were out on. If I am the owner of that boat and I am watching that season back, I'd be getting straight on the phone going, don't ever, we need to start vetting these people. I do not want white trash American scumbags on my boat. I don't know how else to make that clear, but you should watch it. Below Deck, it's great, man. It's just shit telly, but it's great. I'm hooked on it. I'm now on the moving on to season 4. That's how much I've blitzed it, and it's brilliant. These boats are beautiful, man. I wonder what it would be like to just be on that boat for a bit. You know, just like to charter one of these things and have like a personal chef, and part of me thinks it would be boring. You know, I've never been I never will be a sit by the pool sunbathe kind of guy. That bores the shit out of me. playing with the toys they've got, okay, right? Jet skiing, they've got the wee speed boats. You know, you've done that once or twice. And then you go to an island, they take you to like a private island and you have a barbecue, right? You know, I don't know, I just think it would be quite boring. I think it would be quite boring after a time, but I mean, I'd still love to experience it, you know. Waited on hand and foot, yes please. But if you get a chance, watch it. It's great. Below Deck, there's 2 seasons on Netflix, and then there's another 6 seasons after that, I think, which you can find through various, you know, back channels, to use a nautical term. See what I did there? Check it out, man. Below Deck, brilliant. Right, let's talk a wee bit about some stuff that has happened in the news, and a few things I saw today as well. Sturgeon apparently, she'd been making a statement this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. I'm just trying to get the updates here on the website. It's saying Nicola Sturgeon says lockdown will start to be lifted from the beginning of April. I believe, and I could be wrong, I think the date that was quoted was the 2nd of April. That apparently the stay-at-home order may be lifted. Now, none of us know what that's going to look like, because again, the Scottish Government seems to be falling into this pattern of giving us information but being extremely vague on what that information is. So from what I understand, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has said that the lockdown will start to be lifted from the 2nd of April. From the initial things that I saw in the news, it seems as if that will be level 4 will be reduced. What it will be reduced to, I have no idea. There was talk as well in another article that I saw that apparently the tier system may be replaced with something else. So God knows what's going to happen. I find it very interesting that of everything that's going on in the world currently, the top 2 points that are listed on the BBC website at the moment are Nicola Sturgeon says lockdown will start to be lifted from the beginning of April, followed by hairdressers to open on the 5th of April. So it's good that we've got our stuff in place. It's good to see the way everything that's happening on this fucking planet, we've got our priorities right again. When will this of everything that's happening right now as we live and exist on this fucking planet, the top 2 points from an afternoon briefing from the First Minister, the leader of this country, and the second point is you'll be able to get your fucking haircut for the 5th of April. Now listen, I understand that to women and gay men, their hair is the most important thing. I fucking get it. Listen, I get it. But can we not just... I feel as if I'm going mad with the news in this country and the things that are being reported. I feel as if I'm going mad. I keep thinking back to an old sketch from The Thick of It, when the producer is in one of the BBC news broadcasts and he's talking about news, and he's saying that that's not going to run, or they're going to move a story up. Even when you think about something like Good Morning Vietnam, when Robin Williams is in the newsroom with they 2 fucking weird ginger twins, and he rips the news off and he goes to read it and he gets his balls kicked because nothing has been approved yet, and when he gets it in they just put a red pen through everything, they can't read it. That's what it feels like the news is at the moment, of everything that's going on, of everything that's fucking happened. And we're going to touch on it a little bit in a moment. The main news points we get are lockdown situation will ease in Scotland at the beginning of April. What the fuck does that mean? So it's no really news because it doesn't actually answer any points, and hairdressers are likely to open for the 5th of April. So explain to me how we are able to say hairdressers will open from April 5th, black and white, no grey areas. You will be able to go to hairdressers from April 5th, but the first point is lockdown restrictions are likely to ease from the beginning of April. What does that fucking mean? Honestly, I feel as if I feel like I'm going slightly mad. I am desperately trying to completely distance myself from all social media, from all news, and just exist in my own bubble. I'm back to really hating social media again. I follow very few people, and even the few people that I do follow, it's becoming increasingly frustrating at some of the stuff that I'm seeing, and it does feel as if we have all fallen into a point where, sadly, words speak louder than actions. That's what it feels like just now. It feels as if we are all content with saying things and doing either nothing or very little about it. It just feels like it's an odd. It almost feels as if, and I don't know why. It's just a feeling I have, but it feels like the world is literally about to tip over the edge of a waterfall. Like we're literally about to go over the edge of a cliff, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we are getting closer to hopefully this whole COVID situation being over and we can put it behind us, but it feels like any goodwill that we had towards our fellow man is now completely gone, and we are back at a state of fear and anger towards almost everyone. Literally every major group feels as if it's constantly against each other, and it's a very sad. The world's quite a sad place right now. It feels like there's no joy in the world. It feels like there's no happiness in the world, and it's sad, man. It really is sad. This whole COVID situation, the last year. I mean, we've passed the year now in lockdown, but I just wish people would wake up a little more and start to realise how badly this has been communicated, not only by our officials in government, but also by our media. But what would the change be, Gibble? I don't know. How would it look? I don't know. This is just the world we're in. You know, we stupidly thought that by having access to 24-hour news and online streams and blogs and feeds and access to news from across the globe, we somehow felt as though that would give us more information, when what more information has actually done for us, it's actually given us less, because it's now almost impossible to feed your way through the shite that you see on a daily basis to actually get to a story. So who knows, man. I am done listening to any dates from either government, whether it be Westminster or Holyrood. We will be out of this thing when we're out of it, and that's it. So I'm not going to get excited about this April the 2nd, because we don't know what that looks like. It could be, you know, you maybe could sit in a beer garden again. I don't know. I don't know what Nicola Sturgeon's priorities are at this point. This article says travel restrictions in and out of Scotland are scheduled to end from April 26th, but international travel will not be achievable before May 17th. I imagine those dates are going off vaccination dates. Excuse me. Also, April 26th, cafes, pubs and restaurants can open until 8 PM indoors but not serve alcohol. Utterly pointless. Outdoor drinking will be permitted until 10 PM. So that's April 26th apparently, so you know what's to happen at the start. The aim is to have the lowest level of restrictions across Scotland by the end of June. That could mean physical distancing rules remaining, along with number limits and table service and hospitality. Mainland Scotland has been in lockdown since 26 December last year. Hairdressers will reopen, I couldn't care less. Schools will resume, right, we don't know. From 17th May up to 4 people from 2. Oh, I'm not going to read that. We're not going to go down that line again when we start reading the whole 6 people for 2 households can meet and 1 person for that household can mix and 2 people can be in a bubble, but if anybody's got the same letter in the first name, then you have to distance yourself by 7.5 metres. Let's not go back down that road. Let's not go back down that shite again. Let's just wait and see what happens. Right, let's talk about the horrific stuff that's happened over the weekend and the last couple of days with Sarah Everard. I really struggle to say her name. Absolutely horrific thing that's happened to this poor woman. 33-year-old. From what I understand, and again I've not read everything on it because it's just so sad, you know. It's so fucking sad. 33-year-old woman walking home. She is abducted. I tried to read a wee bit today. I can't get too much more information on it, but reading between the lines, the fact that she was identified by dental records would either lead you to believe that the body was in such a horrific state that it was unable to be identified normally by family in the use of dental records, or this fucking cunt has done something horrendous to the body, which has been unable for it to be identified. Now, what has added to this, I think what's adding into this is that it has happened at a time when the country's maybe locked down. We already feel unsafe. A lot of people do. And it further highlights the threat of, or the constant threat of violence towards women from men. And it's a very difficult thing to talk about as a man, because I think that if you are not aware of yourself as a man, then there's very little that can be said to you. If you are one of these men who gets angry that when people say, you know, not all men, or you know, or you take the action of isn't all men, fuck's sake. I mean, listen, if that's the kind of thing that can set you off, then you've probably got to have a look at yourself. These comments that are made, they are not directed at anyone in particular, because no one knows who you are, or no one knows who's reading these things. But whether you want to admit it or not, I would say, and without knowing any numbers whatsoever, I would say it's very unlikely that a lot of attacks that are against women are women on women. I would say the vast majority, I would say probably, if I had to take a guess, at least over 95% of all violent crimes against women are conducted by men. Now, I don't know that for sure. I've picked that figure right out my fucking arse, but I would bet my bottom dollar on it. There are obviously a number of things that have to change, and this is, sometimes things can become quite simple when we break this down. These are huge issues that we're discussing: violence against women and violence against men. But in this occasion, we are focusing on violence against women, and not only violence against women, making women feel unsafe or uneasy. Now, we have all experienced it. We have all been out somewhere late at night, and whether it's a group of guys, or you know, a group of daft boys or daft bams or drunks or whatever, we've all experienced it where we have felt uneasy. Now imagine feeling that on a more regular basis if you are a young woman. And as a man, we are unable to comment on that. I can speak of occasions where I have been, you know, nervous or concerned about a group that may be coming towards me, but I know I'm confident enough that I can handle myself, if you want to say that. Not that women can handle themselves, but what I'm saying is we will never experience that on a regular basis. Now, this goes back to some of the points that were raised about Black Lives Matter and the BLM movement. As a white man, I'll never understand, but I can start to take check of how I conduct myself. Now, I have done this for a number of years. I know what I look like, right? I am a big man, and if you don't know me, I think when I have a resting bitch face, I think I have quite an angry face. When my face is relaxed, you know, I think I look quite angry. I don't know why, it's just the way my face is. If I am out at night, and I find myself out most nights, usually with a dog, if I am ever on a street and I see a woman walking towards me, I will cross the road. I've always done it. I don't know why. Well, no, I do know why. I do it because I know what I look like. I look frightening. If I was to come round a corner and I was to see someone who looked like me, a big fucking massive bear, in the middle of the night when I'm walking alone, you know, you would maybe think, what the fuck's going on? Right, so I am conscious of that. And if we can start to make those little things, this is what a lot of this comes down to when we see stuff on social media, I think. And again, this is just my opinion on stuff, so fucking take it as what you want or throw it in the bin. If everybody starts to take more responsibility for themselves and understand what is right and what is wrong, and if your opinion or your idea as a man is, why the fuck should I cross the road? There is literally nothing I can do for you. If your first thought in this is, why should I try and make women feel safe? I'm not going to do anything. There's nothing I can do for you, right? Get in the fucking sea. Cross the road. Walk a different route. I've done that before when I've been walking somewhere and I have been in a situation where, listen, I'll give you an example. I've done it before where I have been walking to go home and there was a woman in front of me, and I don't know how we ended up walking in the same path, but we ended up walking the same road, and I know where I'm going home and I know my route, and I'm thinking, if she doesn't turn left or right down one of these streets soon, I'm going to go a different direction, because I am not walking behind this woman all the way home. I feel uncomfortable when I feel people walking behind me. I say to Yaz all the time, I go, fuck, we're getting followed. Right, and I say it out loud, and sometimes it makes people feel awkward. But mind you, that is Edinburgh, and everybody walks up your fucking heels here anyway. If we all take responsibility for ourselves, we can make a little change quite quickly. And it's simple things like, and I know this sounds so fucking petty, man, when we're talking about some awful fucking cunt that's done something that's terrible. Just be more conscious. That's it. That's probably what I'm trying to say. Be more conscious of yourself. Be more self-aware of your situation, your surroundings, and just stuff that's going on. I was telling somebody this story. When I was doing in London, right, I used to hate getting the tube home at night because I felt as if it always went to different spaces. I was living in Parsons Green at the time, and I remember coming back, and I don't know if it was Fulham or I don't know what stop it was, but there's a stop where I had to change trains to get on a different line, and it always threw me because I was above ground. So I would get into the tube, I'd be underground, I'd get out underground, and then I'd have to change, and all of a sudden I was overground and I'm outside, and then I'm going back underground again, right? And it used to always fry my brain because I'd think, where the fuck am I? So one night I sat on a bench, a young woman. Now, to me she's young, she probably was about my age, but she looked very young, sitting at the end of the bench. It's a very long bench, and I could hear this guy singing and talking, and I thought, right, he's a fucking drunk, and he's coming around begging, and he's doing what a lot of them do in London. They'll say, I'm not a beggar, I'm going to tell you a story or a joke. And he made a beeline for this woman, and she was frantically trying to search for money. I'll remember that. I was on my phone at the time, and I remember in my head thinking, I cannot be fucked with this guy. I'd just done a show, I was tired, I was not in the mood, and I remember her patting her jacket like that, because that's what drew my attention, and I turned round and he was right up close to her, and I remember hearing her say, I don't have any money. And then he went to go off in one about like, I've never asked you for money and do it. So I just said to the guy, I says, mate, do me a favour, come over here and tell me your fucking story. So I got the guy away for her, and then he rabbited on for half an hour, man. He literally rabbited on for about a minute and a half. And I says, mate, I'm going to stop. You haven't got any money on me, so if we're going to finish this lovely little ditty with any chances of money or a fucking sob story, then you're batting up the wrong tree, buddy. And he never got aggressive, but you could see that he knew that the conversation was over. And then I says, now how the fuck did you go on the platform anyway? Like, I never understood how he got on the platform without a ticket. And then he left and he buggered off. Now, I think I just wanted him to get away from her. I could see she was uncomfortable. I never then turned and made it a big thing, you know. I never then used that as an opportunity to engage with someone. I just left it as it was. She got on the train. I remember when she sat down, she kind of smiled, and then she went off, and that was it. I don't even know what I'm trying to say with that story. I'm just trying to say we've probably all had situations in our past where we could do something to make someone's life a little bit easier, whether that be a woman, a young woman, an old woman, whether that be another man, we can do things to make situations easier for people. And if we start doing that, that is more constructive than us doing a post on social media. Yes, these things are important too, but we need to start being responsible for ourselves. Now, what happened to this young woman is absolutely horrific. And let me just very quickly say two things, because I am aware that this is maybe a comedy podcast and there's not really much chuckles in this episode. Let me say two things. The fact that that man is a police officer is disgusting. And I will say this, and I imagine a lot of people will disagree with me, and that is the power of discussion. We can agree, disagree, we can talk about things, we can move forward. I do believe in the death penalty. I really do. I know that, and in this point I'm going to keep it quite simple. I understand there will be huge discussions on the legal side around that. What if you were to commit someone to death who then proven to be not guilty? Then I would argue that our legal system is fucked if that's the case. And I also would stress at this point, we are not America. Okay, we've got one of the most sought after legal systems in the world, and I would hope that there would be a reform of that in some way, or robust nature in which we could tackle these cases. If you have someone who commits a crime and a murder in such a fashion as this, I do believe they should be sentenced to death. I think it should be very quick. I don't think there should be a long drawn out process. I think if you are found guilty, I think you should be held in custody for 1 month, 1 calendar month. If there has been no new evidence brought to the court within a month, then your sentence is carried out. You are taken into a room and you are disposed of. You are disposed of like a fucking rabid dog. Put the cunt down. That's my opinion. A lot of people will disagree with me. Some of you listening to this will completely disagree with me, and that's fine, but that is how I feel. I think there are certain crimes, I think there are certain things that humans do to each other which are unspeakable, and this man is one of those people. I also do think that would be a deterrent. I really do. I think that if people felt there was a chance that they would be sentenced to death, or there was a chance that the punishment would be so severe, I do think there would be a deterrent on there. I also think that the police should be held to higher regard. I really do. I think that if you are a police officer, I think that you have a duty. I don't think it is a job. I think it's above that. And I think that if a police officer is found to have committed a crime, I do believe they should be held to a higher account than a civilian. How many occasions in the past could this man have been stopped? How many of his colleagues were aware of his actions? You know, this is the thing that we speak about a lot, where people need to do things rather than say things. How many of his colleagues were aware of how he conducted himself? Because I guarantee this will not be the first time. Maybe it's the first time he's abducted and murdered somebody, but it will not be the first time that he's done something inappropriate. No way. So how many of his colleagues have turned a blind eye? What will happen to them? Nothing, I would imagine. It's it's just a horrendous situation. I cannot imagine what the poor woman's family's going through. I cannot imagine what the poor woman had to go through in her final moments with that fucking monster. And I really do think it is the least that we could do to find him guilty and sentence him to death. I genuinely do. But again, it's quite a touchy subject for a lot of people. The other thing that was brought up and was the vigil and the way in which the police conducted themselves at the vigil that was held for Sarah. I'm sure by now we've all seen the pictures of the woman with the red hair being forcibly detained by the police. I'm only going to say this about it. I'm not going to start comparing it to, you know, the Rangers fans in George Square or the Black Lives Matter protests. or the protest by Greenpeace that we saw before lockdown when we took over a bridge in London. I think that the police have not only completely overstepped the mark in this occasion, I think they have done real damage to the reputation of the Metropolitan Police. I really do. If we are, and I go back to my point about the police being held in a higher regard, if you are in a normal working environment, for example, and this is something that happened to me. I had years and years and years ago, a long time ago, probably 12, 14, maybe even 16 years ago. Jesus Christ. In fact, it would have been about 14 years ago. I was invited to a Scotland game at Murrayfield. Now, people who I used to work with, managers I worked with, had left the business that I was with at that point and had gone to a competitor business. Then this is when I was in the call centres, and I got invited to Murrayfield for a Scotland game. Now, I was told to wear a shirt and tie because I was going in the box with fucking Princess Diana. It was going to be our fancy dinner, and I never realised until I got there that it was potentially an interview. Now, what happened was, it was corporate seats. The business was there. They were entertaining a client, and I was brought along as light relief and banter, believe it or not. So I never worked for the company. I didn't have a job. I just knew a lot of the people there. And when I was speaking to the guests or the potential clients, I wasn't talking about business because I didn't know the business, but I was talking about people, and we were just having chats, and it was all very nice, and the game was great, and I'm a big rugby fan, and lovely. In the very same event, on the very same occasion, there was someone who was from the business who ended up losing his job by the way he conducted himself at that event. He got far too drunk, he said things he shouldn't have said, and he lost his job because he was there representing the business and he overstepped the mark. Now, I would think that the police, men or women, who were at this vigil, who conducted themselves in such a way that people were being restrained and arrested, I would say, and this is just my opinion, that they have overstepped the mark and they have brought the name of the Metropolitan Police into disrepute. I don't think anyone could argue that. You can only see by the newspaper articles, the way it's been spoken about online, the pictures that we've seen. So why are the officers not released from the positions? Why are they not fired? It seems as if the last year, probably the last couple of years, the police have almost become a law unto themselves. Now, you could argue that the police were only doing their job. You could argue that the police were carrying out orders. Then you have to bring in stuff like George Square. And I would say to you, well, why were the police not doing their job then? Why were the police not carrying out orders? Because if we have to have a level playing field with the way in which police conduct themselves around a gathering, because let's be clear as well, this vigil was as much a vigil as a protest. The scenes at George Square were not a protest. The scenes at George Square were not a vigil. It was a party. It's very difficult for people watching to see that the police can conduct themselves in one way but not another. So it's a very, very tough situation, and it almost feels as if you can't, not that you can't do right from wrong, but you're conscious of what, I'm certainly conscious of what I'm saying, and I think that's just because, listen, we should not be living in a time where people feel unsafe. We really shouldn't. There'll always be parts of a town or a city where you maybe don't want to walk at a certain time of night. You're never going to change that, but we should not be living in a time where a woman is unable to walk home on her own without being abducted and murdered by a fucking police officer. That should not be happening. I saw something about they took CCTV footage from a bus and from a Ring doorbell. I can remember when I was young in the 90s, and they talk about this almost as if every street in the fucking country is covered by CCTV, and that clearly is not the case. How do we change this moving forward? I don't know. I do think we all have to become more responsible for ourselves, and I think we all have to think about how we conduct ourselves. I really do. I think there maybe needs to be a review of the police. I think maybe police officers need to have an evaluation, possibly every 12 months. I think there needs to be more review, probably into the private life of officers. I wouldn't imagine for a second that this has just come out of the blue. And again, I'm only speculating here, but I imagine if this guy has gone to the point where he's abducted and murdered somebody, I imagine there has been signs, whether it is his internet activity, the pornography that he watches, the sites that he interacts with, the people he talks to, the discussions that he has online. And again, and I know that maybe it's wrong, but I do think the police need to be held in a higher regard. So I would hope there is an investigation of his colleagues. I would hope there is an investigation of the police involved in the, I would say, probably physical restraint of people when there didn't need to be at the gathering in London. But will that happen? Who knows? Sadly, it feels very much like George Floyd, in the sense that, you know, there will be deep anger and outrage for a couple of weeks, months, and then it will dissipate and it'll be something else. And it feels as if we always have something that grips us and keeps us moving on, but nothing ever really changes. You know, no one ever really gets a hold of something and says this will change. So maybe we have to do that. Maybe we have to all be more responsible for ourselves. Who knows, man? Who knows? This article here, it was published on Monday. It says police have made arrests after warning protesters in London to head home immediately, as they will be moving towards enforcement activity. One female protester told officers she was in her local area and had been going home before she was detained. Another demonstrator was placed in handcuffs while fellow campaigners shouted, "Don't kneel on his neck." Police officers could be heard instructing them to leave immediately. It comes after Westminster Bridge was blocked this evening. This is Monday night, just gone, as part of a demonstration against violence against women and proposed new legislation that would give police more powers. A bus was seen struggling to get through the crowds as traffic cops warned drivers to find a different route. Again, I know we can't compare it, but I do think back to the scenes at George Square, and I think, Christ, not one arrest. Not one fixed parent notice, no one detained. I wonder if the people attending this protest, I wonder if they'd been more violent. Would that have made a difference? If it had been a violent protest, if it had have been, you know, if they had flares, if they had started to trash things, would that have made it different? I don't know. It seems as if people who were there peacefully have been forcibly removed once again with the police. I don't know. Listen, it's a real horrible. I think as well, because it happened so recently, I think it's important that we don't kind of get carried away in the sense that there's a poor woman who's lost her life, and her family must be going through hell. So I suppose the thing to say is that as men, we need to think about how we conduct ourselves and what we do going forward from this point on. And just please don't take the attitude of, but I'm already, I'm a good guy, man, I don't do anything. Maybe one of your friends needs a word in his ear, or maybe you're out sometimes for a beer in the future once all this is over, maybe somebody does or says something they shouldn't, then, you know, that's your moment to shine, big boy. Maybe you think back to this podcast and to this conversation, you know, your friend does something that's inappropriate, or they do something they shouldn't, you know, maybe you step in. One of your friends says to you that she's going to walk home alone, maybe you walk with her, you know. You get a taxi, you make sure people are safe. We don't need to mollycoddle women. Women are strong, independent women, but there are bad people in the world, and we need to do more. We need to do more. I don't really know what to say in that. It's just a horrible situation. Right, we're going to end this episode, and a somber note, man. But you know, sometimes I wish life was just all joy and happiness, and sometimes, sadly, there are things that happen in life which are not fun at all, and certainly do not deserve or warrant a light-hearted look or discussion on the subject. Sometimes things happen which are truly, truly horrific, and this was one of those things. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Not all not all is doom and gloom and sad. Fucking hell, man. Let's hope something fun happens between now and next week. Right, watch Below Deck, you'll love it. What else? Nothing else. We don't need to mention it at this point. Quiz on a Wednesday night on Facebook. Join me, kick off halfway, share the podcast, enjoy it, encourage people to listen. Those of you who are rascals on the Patreon, new episode out this Sunday. 50, we just crossed the 50 mark, half a century. The 50th Patreon only episode came out last Sunday, and it's a beauty. So if you're not part of the Patreon army, if you're not a rascal, then consider becoming one. Head to patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson, patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson. You can sign up for as little as £4 and £1 a week. I mean, what is that? £1 a week to get an extra Patreon only episode. So please do that if you can. Help support the show. That's it, team. Thank you for listening. Bit of a different one this time round. But you know, sometimes we need to go down the serious road. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Look after yourselves. For the love of God, please look after yourselves. Stay safe. Wash your hands and your arsehole. And hopefully I will see you on a battlefield very, very soon. Take care, guys.